Sagittarius, you're feeling the sandwich squeeze. Gain emotional freedom now. There's a quiet ache behind your smile lately, isn't there, dear Sagittarius? You still crack jokes at the dinner table, still hold everyone together with your bright, unbreakable optimism. Yet when night falls, you feel the weight of two worlds pressing on your chest. Your parents call with trembling voices asking for help. Your children pull you into their whirlwinds of need. And somewhere between those two poles, you have vanished. For a soul born under Jupiter, the planet of freedom, meaning, and endless horizons, this season feels like captivity. You once measured time in adventures, in laughter beneath foreign skies. Now it's measured in pill schedules, grocery runs, and unspoken sighs. But what if this confinement isn't punishment? What if it's the universe whispering, "Pause, beloved wanderer. There is wisdom even here." This chapter of caregiving, though exhausting, is not the end of your story. It's a sacred initiation. One that asks you to rediscover your vastness not through movement, but through stillness. To find expansion not in travel but in tenderness. You're not losing your freedom, Sagittarius. You're learning a deeper version of it. One that no circumstance can confine. Chapter 1: The Weight of Two Generations. When freedom feels like a memory. Some mornings, Sagittarius, you wake before dawn. Not for a sunrise adventure or a spontaneous trip, but to check on your mother's medication or pack a lunch for your child. The stillness of those early hours carries a heaviness that's hard to name. It's the sound of your spirit stretching between two worlds, one hand holding the past, the other reaching toward the future, while your own needs linger somewhere in the middle, waiting for permission to exist. You used to thrive on movement. You measured your life by horizons, places you'd yet to see, dreams you hadn't yet touched. But lately your world has grown smaller, filled with errands, caretaking duties, and a constant undercurrent of quiet responsibility. The freedom-loving fire that defines your sign still burns within you, but it's dimmed by exhaustion, the kind that seeps not only into the body but into the soul. You find yourself longing for a moment of silence, for air that isn't weighted with obligation. In astrology, Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter, the planet of expansion, wisdom, and optimism. Yet even Jupiter, mighty as it is, has its retrogrades. There are seasons when it pulls its energy inward, urging reflection and rest. Perhaps this too is your retrograde season. Not a time of failure, but a sacred invitation to pause. To ask, what happens when the seeker must stay still? What lessons does the sky whisper when the journey turns inward? The modern world rarely gives women space to breathe, especially those caught in the sandwich generation. Studies show that nearly half of midlife adults in the US are caring for both aging parents and dependent children. And in Europe, projections reveal an increasing strain on women as care demands outpace social supports. Behind these statistics are countless quiet stories like yours. Women who once traveled, dreamed, and built, now tethered by duty, yet still carrying a deep, untamed light within them. You might catch glimpses of your old self sometimes, the one who laughed easily, who trusted life to unfold beautifully. But when those flashes fade, you're left with the ache of responsibility and the guilt of wanting more. And that's where the healing begins, Sagittarius. In acknowledging that your yearning for freedom isn't selfish. It's sacred. It's the very essence of your soul asking to be seen again. You are not meant to abandon those you love, nor to abandon yourself in loving them. Freedom for you now may not come in miles traveled, but in moments reclaimed. 5 minutes of deep breathing under an open window, a walk at dusk where you let your thoughts roam without agenda, a conversation where you tell the truth about how heavy this all feels. These are your new forms of flight. Close your eyes. Imagine Jupiter glowing gently above you, its golden light expanding your heart. Feel its vastness reminding you that even within these walls, you are infinite. This chapter of caregiving is not a cage. It is a pilgrimage of the spirit. Every act of service becomes an offering, every tear an initiation into deeper wisdom. You are not shrinking, beloved Sagittarius. You are becoming profound. And when the day ends and you finally exhale, whisper softly to yourself, even as I care for others, I am allowed to rest within myself. Chapter 2: The Inner Journey. Jupiter's call to reclaim meaning. There comes a moment, Sagittarius, when even your laughter feels tired. When your famous optimism begins to sound like an echo rather than a flame. You find yourself gazing out the window while stirring soup for your family, remembering the version of you who once followed every whisper of curiosity, who believed that life was meant to be lived under wide skies and open hearts. You miss her, the woman who chased meaning, who saw every sunrise as a new adventure. And yet, perhaps this ache is not a loss but an awakening. Jupiter, your ruling planet, governs expansion, but true expansion does not always mean outward growth. Sometimes it means the widening of your inner landscape, the rediscovery of faith not in the world's vastness, but in your own. This caregiving season, as demanding as it feels, is not a detour from your spiritual path. It is the path itself, a sacred terrain of patience, humility, and unseen grace. When Jupiter enters its retrograde phase, astrologers often speak of an inward journey, a cosmic call to turn the telescope back toward the soul. This is what your life is inviting you to do now. The constant noise of caregiving, the repetition, the endless small acts of service. These are your spiritual meditations. They strip away illusions of control and invite you to see the divine in the ordinary. Every cup of tea you prepare, every soft blanket you fold, every comforting word you whisper. They are not distractions from your purpose, Sagittarius. They are your purpose in this moment. But it's not easy, is it? There are days when resentment seeps in like cold wind. You love your family deeply, yet you ache for something more. A sense of being you again. You scroll through old travel photos or journal pages filled with dreams that feel out of reach. You wonder if it's too late, if life has quietly passed while you were busy tending to everyone else's. Let me tell you this truth, Radiant One. Jupiter never denies expansion. It only delays it until your soul is ready to hold it fully. The space you crave is not gone. It's simply being reshaped. The adventure hasn't ended. It's transformed into something quieter, wiser, more intimate. Instead of boarding planes, you are traveling inward, into the deep chambers of your own spirit, where meaning waits patiently for your return. This is a time to reflect, to listen, to realign. Begin by asking yourself, what is this season teaching me about love? About boundaries? About the kind of woman I am becoming? Journal under Jupiter's influence, especially when the planet retrogrades. Write without censoring, without rushing. Let your pen be your compass. Through writing, you will begin to see that even in stillness, your spirit is growing wings. Create moments of spaciousness within your day. Sagittarius energy thrives when given room to breathe. Light a candle each morning and take 3 conscious breaths before the world begins to pull at you. Let those breaths be your declaration. I am here too. Walk outdoors, even if just around the block, feeling the sky above you. Jupiter's eternal domain. Each step you take becomes a small act of rebellion against invisibility, a reclaiming of your autonomy. And when you feel emotionally depleted, remember that Jupiter is the planet of faith. Not blind optimism, but the deep knowing that the universe is kind. That everything, even this, is preparing you for something greater. In astrology, Jupiter always expands what it touches. So when it meets your current challenges, it stretches your compassion, your patience, your wisdom. It turns your exhaustion into empathy, your frustration into grace. Sometimes the meaning you seek isn't found in escaping your circumstances, but in learning to see the sacredness woven through them. Look at the eyes of those you care for. The way they soften when they see you. The way your presence anchors their chaos. You are their Jupiter, their light of stability and hope. And through this role, your soul gathers quiet treasures, resilience, intuition, and a deeper understanding of what love truly means. At night, when the house finally falls silent, look up at the stars, your ancient teachers. Let them remind you that no phase lasts forever. The cosmos breathes in cycles, and so do you. You will travel again. You will feel wild again. But for now, you are learning how to find infinity within small moments. The journey within me is as vast as the journey beyond. I find freedom in meaning, and meaning in stillness. Chapter 3: Between Cultures, Between Worlds, the Global Care Divide. You've always been a bridge builder, Sagittarius, born under the sign that spans heaven and earth, forever seeking wisdom and contrast. And now, in this chapter of your life, that gift of seeing from both sides is being tested in new, tender ways. You are living between worlds once again. Not as the traveler crossing continents, but as the caregiver navigating invisible borders of expectation, culture, and selfhood. In the United States, women like you make up the unseen backbone of the sandwich generation. Studies show that nearly half of adults in their 40s and 50s provide financial or daily care to both parents and children. Across Europe, where welfare systems were designed to ease such burdens, a quiet strain is spreading, as populations age faster than support structures can adapt. Yet no matter where she lives, the midlife woman often stands in the same emotional landscape. Stretched thin, giving endlessly, rarely receiving. You Sagittarius understand this dynamic better than most. You've seen the differences between societies, how one culture may revere caregiving as sacred duty, while another sees it as private responsibility. You may even feel caught between those models yourself, torn between guilt and exhaustion. You wonder if you're doing enough, or if somehow you failed for not being the endlessly cheerful daughter, mother, or wife that everyone expects. But beneath those expectations lies something universal. The deep human need to belong, to contribute, and to be seen. It's here that your Sagittarian wisdom becomes medicine. You carry the gift of perspective, the ability to step outside of circumstance and see life as story, not sentence. Through your eyes, caregiving becomes not a personal defeat, but a shared chapter in humanity's evolution. It reveals our interconnectedness, our dependency, our capacity for compassion. You can look at your own exhaustion and say, "This is not just my story. It is our story. The story of millions of women holding the world together with quiet grace." And yet, grace does not mean silence. You are allowed to speak your truth, to advocate for balance, to demand rest. In some ways, your journey now mirrors that of the global feminine, rediscovering her worth beyond service, reclaiming her voice beyond obligation. Sagittarius energy teaches that knowledge liberates. So, let yourself learn about social support, about boundaries, about the networks of women who are rewriting the caregiving narrative across continents. Seek out communities that honor your truth. There are online circles, virtual retreats, and soul-sharing spaces filled with women just like you. Sagittarius spirits trapped in temporary cages, longing for the sky. When you share your story, healing ripples outward. When you listen to others, your heart remembers that it is not alone. Jupiter, your ruling planet, expands through connection, and each shared moment of understanding becomes a thread in a vast cosmic web of resilience. Imagine this. Women in France lighting candles for patients, mothers in California journaling beneath full moons, caregivers in Thailand meditating before dawn, all whispering the same silent prayer for strength. Though oceans divide you, Jupiter unites you in purpose. You are all seekers of light within responsibility, dreamers learning to find magic within the mundane. You don't need to carry the world alone anymore. You are part of something far larger. A rising wave of consciousness that honors both giving and rest, both devotion and freedom. As a Sagittarius, you have always believed in the unity of all beings. Now, that belief can heal you from the inside out. When you see caregiving through this wider lens, as both personal journey and collective evolution, something softens in your chest. Compassion flows back toward you. The isolation fades, replaced by belonging. Tonight, as you close your eyes, picture yourself standing at the edge of the world. One foot in duty, one in desire. Beneath a sky threaded with stars. Across the horizon, countless women stand beside you, each holding her own lantern of care. You realize that together, you form a constellation, one of endurance, grace, and sacred service. You are no longer trapped between cultures or expectations. You are bridging them, lighting the way for others to follow. Chapter 4: Reclaiming Joy Through Ritual and Vision. There is a moment, Sagittarius, when the air feels different, lighter, almost golden. As if your spirit finally remembers the way home. It happens quietly. Maybe while watching the morning sun spread across your kitchen floor. Or during a rare pause when the house falls still, and you realize you are breathing deeply for the first time all day. That soft inhale, that sudden warmth in your chest is joy. The kind you thought you'd lost but had only been sleeping beneath the noise. Joy is your natural language. You were born under Jupiter, the great expander, the bringer of laughter, hope, and wisdom. Even in hardship, your essence seeks meaning. Yet in the long shadow of caregiving, joy can feel guilty. Like something you must earn, or postpone until everyone else is safe, fed, or content. But the stars are whispering something else to you now. Your joy is not a reward, it is a right. It's the lifeblood of your spirit, and the key to your healing. Begin, then, with ritual, not the rigid kind but the gentle ceremonies that remind you that you are sacred too. Each morning, Open your window and let the light touch your skin. Feel that sunlight as a kiss from Jupiter, your cosmic guardian, reminding you that the universe still dances, still believes in your expansion. Whisper a quiet affirmation. I am free to feel good, even in the middle of the storm. Rituals are bridges between the visible and the invisible. They invite meaning into the ordinary. You might light a candle at the end of each long day, not to mourn your exhaustion but to honor your endurance. Watch the flame flicker and imagine it as your inner fire. Steady, alive, patient. Or during a full moon, step outside and let her silvery light wash over you. Offer your worries to her, and in return receive her calm. The moon is the mother of cycles, reminding you that nothing, not stress, not fatigue, not loss, is permanent. Every phase is followed by another, and the light always returns. Try weaving small acts of joy into your caregiving rhythm. Music can be medicine. Play your favorite song while folding laundry. Aromas can heal. Let lavender or rosemary fill your room, softening the edges of fatigue. Laughter is a prayer. Watch something that makes you giggle without guilt. You don't need to escape your life to taste freedom. You only need to remember that freedom lives within your attention, in how you choose to see the world, in how you choose to care for yourself while caring for others. Sagittarius energy finds purpose through vision, through the act of believing in what lies beyond the horizon. So dream again. Even if your dreams are small, fragile things for now, plant them anyway. Write them down on paper. A weekend away. A new skill. A creative project. A future adventure. Jupiter magnifies intention. The moment you write your dreams, the universe begins rearranging itself to meet them. And then, practice what I call the Sagittarius expansion meditation. Close your eyes. Feel your breath rise and fall like waves. Imagine your heart as a glowing ember of gold. With each inhale, let it grow brighter, wider, warmer, until it fills your entire body, your room, your home. Keep expanding until you sense your spirit touching the stars. That Sagittarius is your truest nature. Boundless, luminous, infinite. You have not lost your adventurous soul. You've simply been exploring a different terrain. One of patience, love, and spiritual maturity. Your current journey is teaching you to find wonder in the smallest corners of life. The world may have asked you to slow down, but Jupiter reminds you that joy doesn't need speed. It needs presence. So walk gently through these days. Let your rituals guide you back to yourself. Dance with your children. Share stories with your parents. Laugh again, not because everything is easy, but because laughter keeps your soul expansive. You are rediscovering joy not as escape, but as devotion. And when you lie in bed at night, whisper softly into the quiet. This journey is temporary, but my spirit is eternal. My joy is not gone. It is growing roots. Conclusion: finding freedom within the chaos. And now, Sagittarius, the story returns to where it began. The woman who once felt trapped, stretched thin between generations, between duty and desire. Yet she is no longer the same. The same hands that once trembled with exhaustion now carry a quiet strength. The same heart that longed to run now understands that freedom is not a destination. It's a state of being. Somewhere in the rhythm of caregiving and self-discovery, you've learned to breathe again. Not to escape, but to expand within the very life you once feared was closing in on you. Freedom has always been your compass. You've chased it across cities, oceans, and dreams. But true freedom, Jupiter whispers, isn't about escape. It's about spaciousness of the soul. The ability to stay present and still feel infinite. You've been walking through fire, yes, but this fire has refined you. It has burned away illusion, teaching you what truly matters. Love that doesn't drain, service that doesn't erase, and joy that doesn't depend on conditions. The chaos around you hasn't disappeared. The phone still rings, the needs still arise, the world still spins in its unpredictable way. But within you, something fundamental has shifted. You are no longer reacting to life. You are responding to it with wisdom. You have found a sacred rhythm between giving and receiving, between holding and releasing. You know now that you can nurture others without abandoning yourself. When you pause and look at the stars tonight, remember that Jupiter, your celestial guide, still watches over you, radiant and benevolent. Its golden light stretches across galaxies, reminding you that expansion never ends. The phase you're in, however consuming, is only one movement in a symphony of lifetimes. The universe is vast and so are you. Close your eyes, beloved Sagittarius, and imagine yourself standing under that starry sky. Feel the ground beneath your feet, solid, alive, trustworthy. Then lift your gaze upward. The sky is endless, shimmering with possibility. You are the bridge between both, the grounded caregiver and the eternal seeker. Both are holy. Both are you. Whisper softly. I am free even here. I am light even in the dark. I am whole even as I care. And in that moment of stillness you'll realize, the chaos was never meant to confine you. It was meant to awaken you. Your freedom was never lost, Sagittarius. It was simply waiting inside the storm, asking to be found again. Not through running but through remembering.